We have 3 courses left in this game. Already done both midfield and Tokyo reverse. Now it is time for us to move onwards to the Swiss Alps in reverse, and where the car we are using is the Ford Focus RS. And up to this point, I can happily say, because of the lap times I've been setting, this has actually been a smooth ride for me to get through the course licenses, to be completely honest. Even though this is probably just me, but you know. I just figured I'd point that out. Okay. Avoid second gear. So I think it's fair to say I've clearly empathised how I'm not meant to do this. And I'm getting freeze frames. Either that or I am experiencing the roughness. Or I could just wait for that to happen and see by how much time I lose in that one corner alone. That would probably also help me out. I've got to be less than a second ahead by now. Oh, I'm well over a second in fact. Is this going to be good enough for the gold? I guess I must have been in that one corner where I didn't get the gold. I guess that must have been where the error was made. And yep, this is definitely a gold run. And got the gold by 6/10. Headline news, I now have 8 golds under my belt. Actually, yeah. You know what? Just for the hell of it, and also for the purpose of making it so there's a level playing field on both the race replays and the course licenses, I'm going to save this replay. And so for achieving the bronze, we get the DTM Audi TT, and for achieving the gold, is this the Mazda RX-8? I got a feeling that says it is. It is indeed the Mazda RX-8, and I think this is the Mazda 787B livery, if my eyes are not playing tricks on me. So, took a couple of attempts to get it right, but eventually, once I did discover where it was, I made the mistake. It was more or less smooth sailing from there. Anyways, time for the races. And I'm trying to think about what cars in this game I've not used up to this point. Well, I've not used the Ford cab, but again, I've already got enough experience with Fords up to this point, and not anything reasonable I can use from the European cars. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the Toyota RSC just because I want to. Yeah, why not? Let's use the Toyota RSC for Swiss Alps reverse, just because I want to use both of the SUVs, and we're up against a Toyota Celica GT4 ST105. Quite sure this will be an easy win because it's only 2 laps and rubber banding on the normal level of racing is usually very slim. So it probably is fair to say I will more or less dominate this run, essentially, is what me thinks. So, already taken the lead as I would have expected, and already into Sector 2, and 4.5 seconds is now the margin up to this point, so it doesn't look as though there is going to be any competition for the rest of this race, because obviously it's the normal level, and like I've said before, the normal level is basically novice. As I've said numerous times in this game before, but I just figured I'd say it again. Because, well, that's just how easy most of the races really are in this game. Something else I'd like to say is that, well, this thing is quick by SUV standards, especially around this circuit. It's almost about as quick as the rally cars, essentially, is what this thing basically is. It definitely has those sorts of, you know, achievable speeds. Whilst I continue to race around here. Of course, because this game is very short, I get so many cars, and yet there are very few of those cars which I can actually use. Well, it's kind of sad in a way, but again, this game definitely served its purpose in terms of being a secondary release to the mainstream series. And there we go. Easy win, as I very well anticipated, because normal difficulty. Anyways. 1 race down and 2 to go. Let's see how much more dominant we can be. So get in the cup to raise in victory lane, and let's now move onwards to the prize car. So for winning the normal race, we get the Turismo 350Z, I think is what this car is. At least I think it's the Turismo as far as I know. Or just the Gran Turismo edition of the 350Z. Gran Turismo Aero is apparently what this thing is called. Daytona Blue. That's ironic. Plus there's another colour called Pikes Peak White and a colour called Silverstone. I think I can see where the well-known circuit references are coming from. Anyways, onto professional. And cars have I not used up to this point? Don't really see any point in using the air track, but I don't think I've used the Mitsubishis yet. Have I or have I not? I don't think I have. Trying to remember. You know what? I will use the Mitsubishis for the next two races, just because I've not used them yet. At least I don't think I have. And our opponent is the CZ3 Tarmac Rally Car. It's time for race 2, and I am pretty sure this will more or less be another easy win. And already up into the lead as I would have anticipated, and apparently he is racing in green for this run, it looks like. And second position is currently where I stand, but I will of course be trying to see if I can make a manoeuvre for the lead, and gonna have to make it a dive bomb here as I sweep down the inside, and I go straight into the wall, and I'm now 3 seconds adrift from my fellow compatriots. Because, well, we're both Mitsubishis, and I don't think I've used either of the Mitsubishis up to this point. I've used both Subarus. I'm also quite sure I used the Peugeot as well, and heaven forbid I did not use that thing again, because, well, I clearly spun. Also, furthermore, the dust that is in my face right now, that is quite obstructing in a way, because it does blind my peripheral vision just a little bit. Sometimes it can be annoying, but most of the time it's not quite as annoying as many people might think it is, unless you're right behind your rival like I am, and trying to see if I can retake the lead and correct myself from the error I made previously. So diving down the inside, keeping in 4th gear, don't want to lose the back end again like I did previously, and up to the lead by 1.1 seconds. So I think it's fair to say this will probably be a more interesting race compared to the previous one. It'll certainly be more competitive, but as I would have anticipated, I'm already up to a 1.5 second lead. So I'm not pulling away exponentially like I have done in most of the previous races, but again, it's definitely fair to say my car has clearly got more turbulence than the CZ3, and it looks as though I am now starting to steadily pull away, as I've now managed to eke out to a 3.3 second lead, and as long as I can keep my nose clean and not run straight into the fence like I did at the start of this race, then I should be good. But this car easily has way better handling than what the Peugeot had, because the Peugeot was just god awful. I literally kept spinning the thing, even though I wasn't even pushing it hard. It just basically decided to keep spinning me around like a record player for some reason. probably because it hated me. Either that or it's just because the car itself was genuinely French. And French cars are not always liked by critics, but anyways. I win! In the Tommy Mäkinen Evo 6. And... yeah, by the way, it says Tommy on both the front and the rear because, well, censorship from tobacco sponsors at the time, as of which Mitsubishi at the time was sponsored by Marlboro, so it's understandable to see why exactly they put Tommy on both the front and the rear instead of Marlboro, because obviously, you know, censorship from tobacco sponsors, which were very popular at the time. And for winning the pro race, we get... is this the Suzuki GSX? Yes, it is. And it is in red. And it literally has its own colours. But yes, the Suzuki GSX R4 is the car we win from the pro race. So, let's now get on with the Ace race here at Swiss Alps Reverse, and this time actually no, I'll save the Integra for another day. But what I am instead going to use is the Evo 7, because I want to. And I should probably get myself some water once I'm done with this, because my throat is dehydrating once again. And we are up against the Impreza. And we are up against what appears to be the newer model of Impreza. And apparently the Evo 7 has the same engine sound effects the Evo 6 has. And immediately up to the lead, as I would have anticipated. And all that's left for me to do now is to not bottle this, as I've already pulled out to a 1.4 second lead over the Impreza. As of which, I did expect myself to take the lead relatively early on, just not quite this early, and apparently there might be handling is better on this thing than it was on the Evo 6, because I'm definitely not sliding around as much in terms of, you know, not managing to keep the car under control, but this one seems a lot more stable. And yep, this is probably going to be another domination run, but again, I'm not always in this to create exciting racing. I'm mostly just in it to try and complete any game that's basically thrown at me. And 4.5 seconds is now the interval, so slowly moving away from the Impreza, as I would have expected myself to do. And it is now 6 seconds already, as which I would have anticipated I would dominate this thing. Also, I'm not sure about what exactly Tommy Mäkinen did once he left Mitsubishi, but I'm pretty sure the team he drove for was Subaru. I think he was teammates with Petter Solberg, if I'm not mistaken, once he left Mitsubishi. And I think the year he left Mitsubishi was probably 2001. So this probably was the last Mitsubishi Tommy had driven, with the iconic Rally Art colours before moving over to Subaru. And ironically enough, of course, even though Tommi Mäkinen would not win again after 2002, at the very least he would still go onwards to become a successful team manager. And ironically enough, he is also the manager of the championship-winning Toyota team, which, by the way, had won the WRC Constructors' Championship, obviously with one of their drivers being Sebastian Ogier at the helm. Because apparently Ogier did technically move over from Ford over to Toyota more recently. Although Ogier technically, in terms of his championship winning streak, that was ended by Oitz Tanak in 2019. Ironically, the first time in 16 years, in fact, anyone except a French driver had won the WRC. And I couldn't tell you who the champion was in 2021 until I've done the research, but unless someone feels free to tell me who the champion was in 2021, then, you know, please feel free to do so. But the truth is, I'm not really bothered about, you know, revealing who that champion was, because apparent as it might be, the only driver I can think of who comes even remotely close to Sebastian Ogier in terms of winning rallies on a consistent basis, it would probably have to be Sebastian Loeb. I mean, he's the only other driver I can think of who's better than Ogier, because Sebastian Loeb is literally about as good as many people say he is. I mean, the man himself is basically, as Richard Hammond would put it, a driving god. Except for saying, obviously, he's not in the Bowler Wildcat like Richard Hammond was. How ironic to say that he literally said in front of a live audience, "I am a driving god." 20.3 seconds, the winning margin in the end. The Subaru basically had no chance of besting me unless I spun multiple times, but even if I did, I would have probably still won the race anyway, because, well, that's how easy most races are in this game. So, had a little trouble trying to work out how to do the time trial, but then once I did do that, I was basically given the green light, essentially. So, 2 courses left, and those 2 courses are Tahiti Maze 2 and Autumn Ring. Let's now save the game. Alrighty then, 2 courses left. Tahiti Maze Reverse is next.